Wild Bristle Matron reforge life till high life. Wild Bristle Matron veil or use block unveil for ailments craft life. What am I casting? I'm casting a spell. Yeah, Gobby. I'm making your dick smaller. Your dick is becoming smaller. Small PP, your PP's getting smaller. It's small. Curse you with small PP spell. You have Curse Reflect? I'm gonna do a quick build review on the week for my own build. So we started the league, Econk, and when you start the league, you basically have no access to gear. It was pretty smooth for me, basically all the way up. But once we got into maps, the MERC started like one-shotting my character. I think that was normal because they pretty much one-shotted everyone's character. So we just kept on going. I didn't know what was going to be new. The T17 mods and bosses were doing a lot of damage to me at the start. We didn't really need to make any adjustments to the build though. I got up to 2 stones really nicely, killed the bosses really fast. I went into 4 stones, but I swapped Smite right after 2 stones because I just wanted to swap and I wanted to try out the build. I did my day 2 Smite swap on a 2 div budget. I probably had like, I don't know, like 6 million damage or whatever with 2 div budget, and I swapped to that with level 19 gems. And then I farmed up a Relikesh, swapped to the Relikesh Arn setup. And basically just started farming like whatever the hell I wanted. Did my T17, started farming some exiles right after I swapped to Relikesh and Arns. And then farmed the yoke, slapped on the yoke, and then the build became something like this. Right. Swapped on the southbounds, whatever. Then later we discovered that, you know, the Worm Ring existed. And then we swapped to the Death Rush setup, because the Death Rush setup was just superior because I really needed Chaos Res on the build. Adrenaline gave more attack speed. It was faster. One thing to mention, a lot of people made this mistake swapping the Smite at the start of the league. They swapped with like level 14 gems. Some people came to me and said, I don't do any damage. And they had like level 6 gems. And you have to understand when you play this build, flat is the first multiplier on dealing damage. When you look at this build, it has 6 million, it has 30 million damage, right? Watch when I do this. Like a third of my damage goes away, and this is with southbound, and they didn't even have southbound, right? So if you don't have the flat from southbound and you have level 36 gems, you're doing like no damage, right? You're literally doing no damage, and this is with flat on a weapon, right? And some people didn't even have like flat on their weapon. So if you took this away and you had no thing, you're doing that much damage. Your 30 million damage build just became garbage, right? And then if you don't have Smite active because you have no flat at all, you're doing like nothing, right? Your damage is just shit. It's complete garbage, right? And that's what people did, right? They don't have Smite up. They didn't have flat on their weapons. They didn't switch to southbounds, and then they had like low level gems. So they were absolutely ZDPS. They couldn't kill anything. And that was one of the biggest problems. Another complaint that I had was that the character was too squishy. And then I looked over people's PoB and they had power charge Relikesh, which basically says you have no endurance charges. And you wasted all your money and the build is complete shit. So those are the mistakes that people made during league start. Hopefully all those things are resolved now. I got up all the way until basically, I updated these PoBs, right? So basically these were my setups going forward. Death Rush setup, and then the endgame setup was what I basically had before swapping to the Rakiata setup, right? It's basically like the same exact gear that I had. Build performed great. I was able to do T17s. I haven't done really farmed any Ubers because fucking farming Ubers is just straight up gambling right now. Okay, so like that's that. Basically, like when you get to this point, all the content should be really, really easy and you shouldn't have any problem with the game anymore. But I ended up swapping to the Rakiata setup because it was newer and I wanted to try it. One of the problems with this build is it relies on frenzy gear so much in the end game to get damage, push damage past like 80 million, right? And I looked over the prices for frenzy gear and it was just not available. Like rings were 150 to 180 divs for like eye level 83s. The shields were like 70 divs and Grace Sublime was like 100 and something divines. So I was just like, man, I can't like, I don't want to just tell people their build ends here. So I swapped to the Rakiata setup because I felt like it had more room to push without having to invest in frenzy gear. And basically this is the Rakiata setup that I'm running right now. And this is my actual character. It has a non-corrupted Rakiata's Dance, a +2 aura or AoE heat shiver, and you need this to get your purity. You need this plus a level 21 purity to get your purities to 5, right? Because they're standard at 4. See, if I remove 1 level from purity of ice, they go to 4, right? So you want the extra level with the +2 so you get to 5, because once you get to 5 and you get 20% aura effect, they become 6, right? Because 20% of 5 is 6, right? 5 times 120. So that's the important thing that people need to understand about the heat shiver setup for your auras, right? The crafting notes for the chest is here. You want to get to 20% aura effect, or you might as well just not have aura effect at all, right? Because you might as well just get max res there, because you're not going to get the +1. Even you'll still get the extra aura effect for the monster reduction, but it's not that big of a deal. So it's up to you. So try to get 20 there if you can. I kind of like brain farted when I made this armor, and I probably should have made it with a suppression base or a PDR base, spamming chaos res to the other, and then just did wild bristle matron reforge life like 14 times or like 16 times, and then 50-50 the veil orb. It probably would have been cheaper. I put the crafting notes in the sheet, right? So it's pretty easy to make. Southbound, self-explanatory, still a lot of cold flat, because Rakiata has a lot of lightning flat, right? You need a cold flat to supplement it, so you can actually still freeze. Relikesh, endurance, right? Not power, not frenzy, endurance, so you can use it comboing with Arns to get brutal and endurance charges. Yoke of Suffering, still try to get higher lightning res on your yoke, because it really helps you get res capped when you have PDR in your chest. Onslaught ring, self-explanatory. Spam int essence until any T1 res, lock suffix, reforge chaos, then wild bristle matron, reforge life, craft whatever, slam whatever. That's the cheap ring. If you want to make the more expensive ring, it's cold essence until you get wed with open prefix, lock prefix, reforge life, and if you get life that's too low or any other mod, you have to cannot roll attack mods annul until you remove the prefix. But you can also break that ring too, because you can reforge life regen and then get, you know, a flat fire or something, and then you have to hard annul, which is really, really bad. But you can make the more expensive ring, so you could get 2 damage mods on top, and then if you do that, you're gonna reforge chaos on the bottom until you get chaos res and multi-mod, and then veil orb to try to get, you know, strength int, or like any of the whatever plus chaos res nodes, preferably lightning, and then you just craft whatever stat on the bottom, right? And then you have Death Rush here, and Death Rush is very good this league because you use Squirming Terror on your MERC, and it generates a worm. And what that does is, number 1, it allows you to gain charges when you're fighting a boss. Number 2, it allows you to activate Overleech when you're on a boss and you have nothing to kill. Number 3, it activates Bane of Legends 10% more damage if you kill recently. And number 4, it activates your Death Rush for adrenaline. So it does 4 things in one, and it's absolutely insane on Slayer. It makes Slayer so much better this league without having to worry about charges and worrying about like all of this stupid shit. Okay. Arn's brutal charges. Brutal charges are very good in the build. One of the reasons why it's so good is because your shock and your ailments is based on the damage dealt. And let's say if I have 50% chance to deal triple damage, right? It doesn't matter for shock if 50% of the time I hit for no damage, because 50% of the time I'm going to hit for triple damage and I'm going to get the bigger shock. And that's why Arns and Brutal Charges is very good for the build. Diamond Flasks of Incision here, a Prismatic Tincture. You can use weapon attack speed or pen. They're about the same, but I feel like attack speed is always a little bit better. I went triple Flask here to get more elemental max hit for juice maps. It's good here. And then your jewels, you have to take some int mods because you need to cap int, or you can take 1 extra node here for int. If you have int on your ring. If you have like a double ring, then you're gonna have to take int nodes on your jewels anyways. Remember, Smite is both a melee skill and an AoE skill, but the melee multipliers do not apply to the AoE portion of Smite. So if you're getting melee damage and melee crit and melee crit chance, that is not going to help your AoE damage on your Smite, right? The large cluster is feed, fuel, and martial prowess. You make this by taking a sword jewel and then you reforge speed until you get 2 of the mods, and you're going to try to slam the last one on. A light of meaning for crit, because if you notice, sometimes when I attack things, the monsters don't die because they're not frozen, because my crit chances was really low. So I went light of meaning crit, and it was cheap. A lethal pride for rage melee hit and double damage, right? And I also have strength on mine to alleviate some of the strength issues on the build. And ancestral vision here for suppress cap. This combined with the chest piece for 30% and 4 points in the thick skin. Make sure you have all 4 points in the thick skin. Will give you full element immunity. What's not on the PoB, but it's actually on my character, is tattoos. 7 tattoos for stun immunity. And the most important part of the PoB is the rune graph. This is the thing that makes the whole entire build work. It's 15% increased reservation efficiency of skills. Your auras from your skills affect also enemies. So your purities go out, they give enemies big res, and then you hit them, and Rakiata's inverts the res, right? And without this rune graph, your build does not work. It is garbage. Your build sucks. So make sure you put this rune graph in, and I try to put it in the PoB a million times, and it just doesn't do anything unless you put this in, right? So basically that's the build, right? So far I've been farming everything. When people ask me to do some T17s, to show them T17s, I completely just stomp it real fast, and they're like, "Oh wow, that's really good." And then obviously this is the like more budgetish build, because you could probably get this build online from between 80 to 100 divines, and it's like 100 million damage. It just like basically cream pies everything. I haven't died on this character in like 4 days, so I'm almost 99 now. It was kind of rough at the start, but after I got all my chaos res situated, got some PDR and stuff like that, got adrenaline up, it's been got a lot of damage to freeze everything. It's been pretty chill. You shouldn't have any problems with it, to my knowledge. And I've been doing like really fucked up maps too, right? Or really messed up maps. I shouldn't say the F word on YouTube. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole entire build. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm probably going to gear it up a little bit more. There's a Mageblood PoB for the people who are really rich in the sheet. And that PoB is much better, right? It's like much more damage, much tankier. It's just better overall. And it's probably like faster too, because it has like better attack speed because of Mageblood Silver Flasks. But yeah, the gloves probably shouldn't be like that. In all honesty, it should have been you craft accuracy, right? You reforge attack for accuracy, and you could get attack too, but you want accuracy. And then you want a veil mod for basically any mod, right? That mod, and then you craft attack speed, is because attack speed is like a 12 versus a 16 on the gloves. So that's what it should have been. But I brain farted, and it would have been 100 times easier to craft if that was the case. I'll fix it later. Anyways, I'll go over my MERC. I have an infamous striker, and I use him for determination, so I have some more physical damage reduction. And what he also does for me is, because I cannot put the endurance charge mod on the thing, it does enduring cry, and he will give me brutal charges whenever I fight bosses. So what I have on him is culling strikes, because I don't have forbidden jewel. You can also use the decorative axe, because it doesn't matter what damage he does, right? For culling strikes. And I have belted the deceiver for intimidate, for increased damage taken. I have brittle ground for that, but you can also use sap ground if you're worried about dying on bosses to make yourself tankier. I just took brittle because I don't know. Because I don't always have power charges at the start of the boss fight, so it caps my crit. I have a Calm's Heart, a Squirming Terror, a Perkles for Lucky, and just a Helm. And on the Helm, I have enemies you've hit have 66% reduced life regeneration, just in case I get, like, I don't know, a Maven or something healing. And that's basically my MERC. No Scorch Boots? Yeah. So the whole point of this build is to increase the mob's resistance so you can do more damage. And Scorch reduces the resistance. Why would I want to make my build worse? Are you guys rage baiting? Anyone have any questions on builds right now, since I am already, talking about stuff? No, I don't use FF jewels. I took off my FF jewels because people were complaining about it. You can't use Eye of Malice. You can use Eye of Malice, but it doesn't really matter, because I have so much res on the Rakiatas. Here, let me answer the question. Okay, because enemies have res cap, right, too. And if you notice in your configurations, you can see that how much your auras are giving you, and your purities at this level is giving you plus 67. So anything with 14 res will literally be capped, right? So it doesn't matter. If you can't kill the white mob, right, with 100 million DPS build, then you have your own issues, right? But anything that has any sort of res, like any unique monster, any like rare with res, should always just be like capped anyway. So you don't need to use Malice. It's not necessary. If you're not freezing enough, you need to get more crit. You might want to swap out one of these supports for increased crit, right? And then your crit should feel better. Yeah, any base for Onslaught ring works. And if you can't afford an Onslaught ring, you could just use a normal ring and use a silver flask. But then you would have to use increased crit on your links. And that's also fine. You'll just do less damage, but who cares? You already do plenty of damage. It doesn't matter. Oh, one more thing about the AoE on the build. You can see here, I have it set up perfectly. So the range on your auras is big enough so it covers the whole entire screen, so you can smite all the way across and everything will get hit by the aura. And that's because I have AoE from Res Mastery, AoE from there, and AoE from here, and I have AoE from endurance charges, right? So those things make it 8.9, so it covers the whole entire screen. You guys can take a look at my Mamba setup also for endgame if you want like something like this, because this setup is also like really, really nice. On this Mamba setup, I have 4K life, 4.6K life, 4.K ES with damage split from Corrupted Soul and regular Soul of the Divine to heal all the life and all the ES every second. So it has 8.8K recovery per second, basically with the AK pool and 90 res and per Genesis, which is, you know, like this stuff like this should just never die, right? But the trade-off is this gear is really, really good. It's like really, really insane gear, because to make this is honestly just like really, really hard, right? To make. So it is what it is. Yeah, you need both on both weapons. How do you make a dagger like that? You're gonna really hate me, but it's like a flat lightning or flat cold fracture, and then you spam freaking Zeal Essence until you get dot multi with the open prefix, and you have to reforge chaos. But when you reforge chaos, you can hit fucking a chaos prefix. I guess you could aug chaos too, and just settle for whatever you get, and then have fun getting the second prefix, because it's like aug cold. So you're gonna get like 1 to 3. It's really hard to make, right? You probably want like it's probably cheaper to just like recom the weapon, like a 5 mod recom, but I don't even know how that's gonna work. But it's like, this is like really, really endgame shit. It is what it is. I made all these like defensive setups for just like people to see, to model their characters after, because like, you know, I feel like they're okay. You can swap to it whenever you have money, man. Just like every other build. You have to make the weapons, and then you have to have clusters, and the clusters are kind of hard to make. Is Death Rush worth it for Peacock? Yeah, I definitely think so. I think Death Rush is very good. Like, Adrenaline is just good overall. Yeah, apparently the ring was never bugged, and then we just got misinformation. Because when we tested it, I didn't think the ring was bugged, right? Soft kitty, warm kitty, little ball of fur. Happy kitty, sleepy kitty, purr, purr, purr. Soft kitty, warm kitty, little ball of fur. Happy kitty, sleepy kitty, purr, purr, purr.